There we go. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, I'm Susan Harden with AGS. I am joined with my colleague, John Hawkins. Our information is here. Quick bit of housekeeping. There is in the chat or in the GoToTraining control panel handout. It's really just today's session that will also be automatically emailed to you after the session. You can download it now as a PDF, or you can just wait to get it in the email follow-up. Your choice, but it's exactly the same presentation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Oopsie. So really quick, picture being worth 1,000 words. These are just some logos of some of our customers that we serve with strengthening community colleges. I'm going to go ahead and ask everybody to mute your computers, or if you're here by a phone anymore, and unmute yourself if you have questions. But for the time being, just go ahead and mute. Thank you very much. So picture being worth 1,000 words, some logos of some of our customers. Some of these may look familiar to you. I'm going to spend a little bit of time kind of diving in first into the application. So we support 200 or more organizations around the country and millions of participants in SCC grants, other grant templates. John's going to talk more about the product and AGS after we first go through a demo of the application itself. So if you're anything like me, when I go to these kinds of sessions, and John and I do as well for products that AGS looks at for purchasing and subscribing to, I like to see the product first. I don't want to spend a half an hour in slides. So I want to get right to the heart of the matter. So we're going to do that same thing today. So we're going to start out with a demo, just like we said in our email invite, where we're going to start off showing off reports. We'll start off with everybody's favorite report, your WIPS report, which is going to be your quarterly report due to DOL ETA. We'll look at a couple of other reports really quickly, just so you can kind of get a sense of the kinds of reporting capabilities that are available in the tool itself. We'll take a step back and look at the overall case management system, so you can get a feel for what the application looks like. Everybody has seen fields and forms before, but I want you to be able to come away from this understanding what the AGS Prime SCC application looks like. Hopefully you'll find that it looks really easy to use, and we will then swizzle over back to John and kind of come back to slides. So that's going to be the plan for the next 30 minutes or so. So if that's what you thought you were going to do today, you are in the right place. So I'm going to swizzle over now to our application. And you should all be seeing my screen. This is my demo site. Just really quickly, all of our customers are hosted on AWS or Amazon Web Services, and all of our customers have their own dedicated virtualized web server. So there's no commingling of data. It's called a single tenant environment. We have been vetted scores and scores and scores of times regarding PII because we work with so many DOL and Department of Commerce grants over these 25 years, and John will talk more about that. Just kind of a quick sidebar so you have a sense of what it is we're looking at. This is one of my demo sites, so there's no actual data in this system. So this is what all of our SCC customers' sites look like. Of course, they have their logo here, and this text can be configured to be specific to their grant's name. Most of the grants have actual project names. But then you see this menu across the top. There's home and participant management and employer management, where all the participant and employer data resides. We have a self-registration module. We'll come back to these in a minute. An administrative module for the application itself. So this is a pre-built, pre-configured, compliant application with all the required fields, field values, help text, WIPS reporting, everything pre-baked into the application. So it's really a turnkey, back up the bus, turn the system on, and you're ready to go and start collecting compliant data later today kind of thing. But as promised, I'm going to click on reports first and show you what it looks like from the reports module. So you can see that, in fact, we do have the most important report from a federal perspective for this grant. And that is going to be your WIPS report. So when I click on reports, you see a couple of different things. We see a list of canned reports or pre-built reports that you would expect with a commercial product, one of them being the WIPS report. We see a list of pre-configured queries that AGS provides to all of our customers in all of these various grant templates that we provide. We've been providing these kinds of grant templates for about 25 years. So we have a pretty good idea of the kinds of queries or data downloads, if you will, that customers want. But you can, build additional should you want to, but you have that as sort of your starter list. We provide a couple of graphical reports. We call these dashboards. And this is running live data for services. This is not a report that's required by the feds. But again, having worked with so many different customers over the years, we know there are a handful of graphical reports that you really need to help tell your story. Level of effort, level of success. That over time, we see our customers including some of these dashboards and some of the queries as augment reports to your Q&R. Here's a participant dashboard for different enrollment information and different demographic information. We'll take a look at the participant profile to see where all this data comes from. Let's go back to reports and click on this WIPS file. So this is what all of our customers currently see and do who are using this template for their grants for earlier rounds. I'll pick on, because this is my demo site, I'll pick on round 4. We'll pick 2024, the calendar year. What quarter are we going to report on? Quarter 2. For demo purposes today, I will include the header so you can see that we have the header for your Pearl. I imagine all of you are getting very familiar with the Pearl for this grant. We do include an error checking file so that you never submit a report to the feds, to WIPS, that has any known errors. So we always give you that final best sweep through the application and make sure that all of the data is correct. We allow you to include additional fields for your own analytics, and you can run the WIPS report for each of your individual organizations if you, as the grant manager, are particularly interested in organization by organization oversight. If you were submitting this to the feds, you would say, show me all organizations. I'll go ahead and run this report. Again, this is my demo site. So I have a handful of data here. Oh, sorry. So this is running. I said, yes, show me an error report. So this is an example of an error report from AGS Prime. You can see we produce an error report that is intended to provide really human readable error checking. I only have one error, so yay. Don't save that. Let me run this one more time. And I'm going to say yes, ignore the error file for demo purposes. We would never not do that if we were running this for the feds. And here's what my WIPS report looks like from my demo system with a handful of records. I, again, specifically included the headers so you can see that we have these columns that you're probably getting accustomed to now, starting with the OBS number in column A. So we take all of the data that's being entered into forms and fields as human readable values and doing all of the conversions for you based on the aliases that WIPS expects. So you're not dealing with all of that conversion. And if you're familiar with this Perl, I'll scoot over here to column EF. You know that is the last column of this particular Perl report. Let me close that. And let's just take a quick look at, then we also provide for you a QPR. We'll run this QPR for that same time frame. Now the QPR is a report that you do not need to produce for delivery to the feds. But we produce a QPR for you as project managers and grant managers so that you can always know where you are based on the federal QPR expectations. And we lay this out exactly in the format ETA 9173 is the format requirements so that you can see where you are with your data at all times. You're not waiting for something to come back from the feds. We are project managers and as well, so we understand that Project Management 101 is eliminating surprise. So we want to make sure that this information is at your fingertips as grant managers at all times. We also produce for you then the update to define all of those aggregations, and this comes directly from the Perl. We just make this more accessible to you at your fingertips. Any questions about the WIPS file or the QPR that we produce for you? Feel free to use the chat. John will help us monitor those. In addition to all of this, then we provide you with queries. Just for example, we can download every single field from every form. So it's your data, we simply host it for you. So these are all of the fields from the participant profile record that you can utilize now for your own internal analytics. Okay, let's take a quick step back. I want to be sensitive to time. I'm going to jump back over here to my participant management module. This is the list of my current participants in my case management environment for SCC. And I'll open up my favorite test customer, Buddy Holly. So Buddy is a reviewed participant. I can open up his case folder. And so we see in this electronic case folder a series of electronic documents, a profile, he's been enrolled in the grant, he's got a training program and a training record and credential, a couple of measurable skills gains, a couple of services, employment, case notes, and no attachments yet. So we see this electronic case folder. This is really synonymous with me getting up out of my chair, walking over to the file cabinet and opening up the H drawer and pulling out the manila file folder or 3-ring binder with color-coded tabs or however you do that. Walking back to my desk, opening it up and seeing these sections of documents that have already been created on behalf of this existing customer. New participants would not have these electronic documents, but this is my existing customer. So this is the kind of data that makes up the fodder for WIPS reports and QPRs and queries. So that participant profile record, which is the start of all data entry, really looks like this, just to kind of give you a quick example of what our forms look like, where we're really guiding your data entry folks, really through this data entry process. So for this grant, for example, 9 nines are allowed. If we don't have a real SSN, we always include the help text right in the forms themselves, so your end users don't have to have business rules memorized or help fields memorized. Down here in this section, we've got baked in business rules on individual fields and between fields, and even business rules between forms to catch, I'll use my term, bad data entry. So again, your end users don't have to have these hundreds of business rules memorized. The system guides you through that. So if I say I'm employed, I can be underemployed, but I cannot be long-term unemployed. And when I see this pink arrow on my screen, my save button is now no longer live. I may have just mistyped. I can say no, the error message goes away, and now my save button is live again. So this is just a quick example of how we are making sure, as computers doing what computers should do, not allowing your data entry folks to enter bad data, so that when it comes time for you to run WIPS reports, as best as we can for business rules, we are catching those things up front. There are a handful of business rules that we can only catch for WIPS fields during that WIPS report computation. That's why we have the error checking file that catches the last bit of WIPS fields that are not one-to-one data entry, but are that are caught through that computation.
Susan, if I could add one thing, would you mind going back to the participant form?
Absolutely.
One thing, folks, that we also do to further improve data entry accuracy is something that we call catalog. So you're able to set up for data entry or data elements that are categorical. So like if there's a yes or a no, or 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of categories based on the question of the data that's being asked. Or if you're trying to assign somebody a particular training program or to a service that's provided, the system is set up to where those are all baked in, so that when the end user is in here putting in the data, they just have a drop-down list. So there's no like keystroke errors as well. So anywhere possible, we can eliminate keystroke errors from data entry. We provide drop-down lists or radio buttons, checkboxes, things like that. So that folks aren't, having typos and whatnot.
Thank you, John. And also, did you mention that organizations can have additional fields added to this form if you are accustomed to tracking some additional demographic information that might be, coloring outside the line, so to speak, from the SCC grant, which is not uncommon for our grantees. There was a question that came in from Reggie. If you're running multiple cohorts of trainings, can we use the org field to segment out the cohorts and get cohorts data for comparisons? You are very insightful, and that is exactly what we use the staff organization field for. So I've logged in as an application administrator just to kind of take this question down the path. So I'm always going to see all of the organizations that are available, my partner organizations, so to speak. And we have this here so that if I'm not an application administrator, you are only going to see your staff organization here and your list of staff users for that organization in this dropdown. So if I switch that, I see different users. And we use staff organization specifically for what we call and have baked into the architecture for all of our grant templates, something called organization level security. So that each of your partner organizations, if I can use that term, who are part of your grant consortium, will log into your consolidated case management system for SCC, and they will have rights as data entry, just generically use that term. And when they log in, they will only see their staff organization. And when they log in over here and click participant management, they will only see data for staff organization 2 if they are a staff person assigned with staff organization 2, right? Or staff organization 1. They'll just see their organization's data. And so yes, the data is automatically segmented from the end user's perspective. And then as application administrators, you have the ability, because the data is associated with every staff organization, to run analytics and comparisons. You can even run your WIPS report, as you saw, per organization for comparison purposes.
And to take that, the security levels a step farther, the security permissions for like the group level security permissions. So you've got partner organizations with staff users. So their security permissions, as an administrator of the system, you can restrict even what we call modules. So the tabs across the top. So, for example, maybe they only see the home button and the participant management button. And maybe you have a business service rep that only sees the employment management module because that's all they're doing is doing employer engagement. The self-registration only shows up for admin. That's just we provide everybody with a unique link so that as they're encouraging participants to enroll, they can provide a link or a QR code for those folks to go to a single website-based form where they can do a self-registration. But not all of your users have access to like the admin or the reports, so you don't have to worry about folks getting into stuff that they're not supposed to get into.
Exactly. So for all of our templates, we have baked in organization level security that automatically segregates the data per staff organization. For those of us who are application administrators, which would likely be probably all of you on this call for your specific grants, we would always see all of the modules and we would always see all of the data. And here is an example of that self-reg form that we do make available for administrators for QA purposes. Really only. So you just get a flavor of what this looks like. It is essentially that staff facing participant profile record. It is extremely common. You're going to have multiple attachments to have some consent language here on the bottom. You'll give us whatever language you want. We'll add that for you. A consent date and a consent signature. We work with hundreds of organizations around the country, and in every state so far, keystrokable consent signatures have been acceptable by attorneys general. So far that has been nice and easy and clean. We can accept digital signatures if that's something that is particularly important for your organization, but that's just what the self-reg form looks like in its from the application administration side. So that's a really quick run through of the application and answering a handful of quick questions. John, can I toss it over to you?
Yep, I can run through the background information real quick.
Specific? Run some back. Okay, let me toss this over here, and there we are.
Okay, and if anybody, like Susan said, this was just a really quick showcase for this particular product. So if anybody has interest in taking a deeper dive, if you really want to kind of one-on-one with us, dive into the product demo, just let us know. We're more than happy to do that and answer all your specific questions, one-on-one or with you and your colleagues, whatever. But also feel free to ask questions here. So we just have a few minutes left, so I just want to run through a little bit of background. Susan already mentioned, the 25 years of experience. So AGS has been around for a long time. We're a national leader in web-based data collection and management systems, like the template we just showed you, working with numerous different federal grant programs over the years. On the right-hand side, these are just a handful of some of the current grants that we're working with right now with supporting customers. Over the 25 years, it's been more than 40 DOL, EDA, Department of Commerce, ARPA, and grant streams. Because we've worked with so many different grants for so many years, we are also experts in Pearl data compliance and WIPS reporting. That's why we're able to build that WIPS report and have all of the baked in, data validations and so on and so forth in the tool for you. So the template that we were looking at, we call it a template. So the SCC data management system that we just looked at is an application. It's a software application that sits on top of AGS Prime. So AGS Prime is our no-code development platform, and that's where these data management systems are built, hosted, and edited. So as administrators of a grant system like the SCC system, you would have administrative access to the domain, which would be where you as administrator could go in and make changes to forms, like Susan mentioned on the participant. Let's say you guys wanted to collect eye color as well. That would not mess up your WIPS reporting, but you could go into the form and quickly add eye color as a data element that you want to capture, hit save, and then it would be live in your tool. So it's a no-code web-based platform for tracking any amount of data that you want, and you can also build other applications. So, for example, if you wanted to, or if you were doing a career fair, having a table at a career fair, you could in about 15 minutes spin up an independent web-based application to have a form that folks that come up to your table could input their contact information, a little bit of background information on themselves, hit save, and then you would also have a view to be able to see a table, a spreadsheet table of all of the data, and provide access to all of your staff members that are needing to engage with that data. So rather than each person that goes to the career fair on whichever day or time that they're scheduled to sit at the table, you're not ending up with 6 or 7 different Excel spreadsheets that you then have to collate and deduplicate and all that stuff. You can very quickly and easily set that up in AGS Prime.
And John, we have another 6 minutes.
Oh, great. Okay, I was rushing. I thought we were done at the top, so we've got 6 minutes here. So I won't talk quite as fast. In addition to great tools that are built based on all that experience, you also get a ton of support. Support is really what we want you all to be successful, not just in like how to click here and how to add things, but really understanding the nuances of the grants themselves, the WIPS reporting, any changes that happen at the federal level. That they change stuff all the time in terms of reporting requirements, so on and so forth. We keep track of all of that, and also are available to offer our expertise and based on all of the experience that we have. So we have ongoing system updates for validation and reporting compliance. Again, we monitor all of the reporting requirements and validation requirements and whatnot for each grant system that we have a pre-built application for, and we automatically make those changes as the feds push them out, so that when it comes time for you to run your WIPS report, everything is in line with what they're expecting you to be uploading. We also do monthly user group webinars for both the application templates. So like we have a monthly user group for our Strengthening Community Colleges clients, and then we also have a user group meeting for our AGS Prime, so like the domain administrators, and that's a time where we can go over any updates that have happened, answer questions. You can ask questions of your your fellow grant recipients or fellow system users. So it's kind of a community question and answer time, and a great place to come and ask questions. Tons of training documents, video tutorials, release notes, and then you also have access to us. So we offer unlimited training and technical support for the administrators of both the domain itself, so AGS Prime, and for the actual SCC system, the data management system. So any questions, additional trainings, so on and so forth, you have access to us at no additional cost. It's just part of your subscription. There's our contact info. Like I mentioned, please reach out if you want to take a deeper dive with any of the information or see the tool. Also, feel free to unmute yourself right now and ask questions if you had anything, or if you want to put some question in the chat. We're here for another 4 minutes about, so let us know if you have any questions. And then if you don't have any questions, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us for this very quick overview of our Strengthening Community Colleges grant data management system. And we look forward to connecting with you later. And we will send out the recording as well as the slides once we process the recording itself. So Susan and I are going to stick around and answer questions. But if you don't have any questions, again, thanks for joining us, and feel free to log out. And we'll hang out here for a few more minutes and go ahead and reach out to us.